Hi all, I'm Libby, proud captain of Millwall Lionesses. Thank you to our Millwall fan show from the No One Likes Us Talking team for sponsoring me this year. Make sure you give them a listen like I do. Or even better, why not sponsor a Lioness while you're at it like they do? Thank you always for your continued support.
This podcast is a proud member of the Fan Hub 100. Football without fans is nothing, so we've partnered with Fan Hub to put fans first. Search Fan Hub app to play your part in the journey.
Hi, I'm Bethany Warren, and you are joining me to listen to the podcast of our Millwall fan show with the No One Likes Us Talking team, which is available every Friday at 8 p.m.
It's the 12th show of COVID-19 in lockdown 3.0 reducing here in England. I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Henry Morgan, Stan Godwin, and the evergreen Jeff Burnige.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Firstly, we were saddened to hear from the club of the passing of former player Alan Slough, who had battled with Parkinson's disease. Alan had already made over 500 appearances with Luton, Fulham and Peterborough before joining the Lions in 1981-82, where he made a further 20 appearances before joining non-league Weymouth, where he finished kicking leather. Our sincere condolences go out to his family and friends. R.I.P. Alan Slough. The Lions Food Hub, based in Rennie and Manor Estate Tenants and Residents Association Hall in Bermondsey, are looking for food and financial support. To help them, you can find Lions Food Hub on Twitter and Facebook. You can also enter Lions Food Hub Banquet. That's BANKUET. So that's a Lions Food Hub Banquet into your browser and make a one-off or regular donation. You'll find the post attributed to that at the top of their Twitter account. There has been some confusion surrounding the changing of passwords on the Millwall ticketing accounts. A club's spokesperson said, as mentioned in the email sent to supporters and in the news article, if you have already changed your password when the new system was installed in August 2020 or thereafter, you don't need to change it again. This is for those supporters who have never reset their passwords. Unfortunately, there is no way the club can filter out the email addresses of those who have changed their password already, which is why the email has been sent to everyone. So make sure you got that all done, boys, because it won't be long before it's season ticket time again.
We done that, didn't we, the other week, Eamonn?
We did it, me and you, Stan. Yeah, no problem with it at all whatsoever. And while you're there, Stan, how's it going? Okay?
So far, so good, yeah?
Yeah,
I'm in the bedroom. Now, to explain that to people, I've had this curious anomaly, because when I put the computer on downstairs in the dining room, I can't get into it. But when I bring it up to the bedroom, it works perfect. Now, how that dynamic works, I don't know. But anyway.
No, it's the strength of your signal or your bandwidth. Henry will tell you all about that later. Right. Stan, what did you reckon about the Borough game then?
Well, in actual fact, I quite enjoyed it for a number of reasons. I thought we played well in the first half. Clearly, Middlesbrough were down there to get a result. I mean, it was, I couldn't understand why it was, well, perhaps it's not true. When at half-time come, Walnut made about 4 changes, didn't he? So he clearly had the ump with them for some strange reason.
He did.
But I thought we played well. The only thing that worried me, come out for the second half, right, for about the first 10-15 minutes, right, they was attacking and we had no outlet, and all we kept doing was lumping it out. And because the problem is with that, it was coming straight back. We overcome that. But, I mean, if you were doing that against the Norwich, we'd have been punished for that. I've got absolutely no doubt. And we won the game. And for me, Billy Mitchell was the man of the match, closely followed by Danny Mack, I thought he had an excellent game.
Yeah, I think you're right there. How about you, Henry?
Yeah, evening all. I thought I agree with Stan. To be honest, I thought it was the first half especially was fantastic against Borough. I thought it was one of the few times this season we've had more possession than the other team. It's not something that we often do, but I thought we looked very assured. All right, the goal's an own goal, but I think we're only getting that goal because Jed Wallace is taking that extra touch and driving to the byline to try and cut it back for Mason Bennett. And I think they both ran themselves into the ground, to be quite honest. Hence the substitutions. I'll give a shout out to Billy Mitchell. I thought he had a very good first half, battled away in the second half. And for a player of his age, where he's learning his craft in the Championship, what a fantastic performance. And it's great to know that in him and Danny McNamara, we got two players that really look like actually they can cut it at this level, and they're only going to get better, which gives some real competition for people like Marlon Romeo and keeps a number of players quite honest. Yeah, cracking result against Middlesbrough, who had fantastic form coming into it. And like Johnny Bullock said, he thought they were probably going to win 3-0 going into the match. So just shows you how far we've come. Finish as high as we can, like Gary Rowett said. And it's really extraordinary. I think a lot of people out there would do very well to listen to his post-match press conferences because he explains a lot in those. He does. And you can really understand why he makes some of the decisions he does. So fantastic. Keep going.
Cheers, Henry. Jeff, how would you summarise it?
I think the two chaps have done a great job in summarising there. I don't have a lot to quibble with there. It's lovely to see players that we've produced come in and do well. I think it was I'm talking about Billy, I'm talking about Danny Mack. I think it's partly because in recent weeks they've played much less than some other players. I'm sure that fatigue is a factor, not only at Millwall, but I think the whole division. There's been lots of games that have been quite dour and not brilliant to watch, and I think fatigue is a factor. I think it's a bit of a shame that the players they replace are also players that have come through as youngsters at Millwall. It's just one of those things. It would be nice if the positions that we were producing were in those areas of the field where we felt an urgent need to produce. So I felt a bit sorry that Ben was left out, although I believe he was injured and probably exhausted, I would think, the way he plays. And I'm still a fan of Marlon, but he clearly has got significant competition. From Danny. The other hero is, I think, at long last, Mason Bennett's being played in the position he came to prominence in at Derby. He's a striker, and he's had to play in some very weird positions to get his match fitness. I think he looks the part, and. Also, I want to give a special word to Jake Cooper. Don't forget, that lad's playing with a shoulder that needs an operation. And he's done that for most of the season. So I think that's incredible performance by him to turn in these performances week in, week out. We were miles better than Middlesbrough, particularly in the first half. And it just says something, doesn't it, that the way we win the game is with an own goal. It does worry you that we don't quite create the chances. We have done a bit more recently, but that is the area that I think wants looking at. And after the international break, we'll get 3 or 4 players back, and it'll be interesting to see what that does to team selection.
Yeah.
Eamonn, can I just add a couple of things on what I read in the Southwark News today? It points out that Gary Rowett has not at any point this season had a full squad to choose from.
Yeah, correct.
Right, and 9 players have missed at least a month of the campaign through injury. That's 9 of our players.
That's right.
Correct.
It takes a toll, doesn't it?
It's a good story and well worth reading. It was a good 3 points, well won. But we're going to take a break there to hear what Fantastic Fanatics offer and what we can do with them to support our community trust.
Hi, I'm Richard Gordon, and I'd like to invite you to become a Fantastic Fanatic. Fantastic Fanatics is a great way to raise funds for your sports club. Sign up today, find your club and securely register your everyday debit and credit cards. Every time you spend with our retail partners, they pay a percentage back to your club. It costs you nothing and you can win cash prizes along the way. Visit fantasticfanatics.com and help your club be the best it can be.
I'm Eamonn Barclay and I'm back with a No One Likes Us talking team of Henry Morgan, Stan Godwin and Jeff Burnige. I heard last week how one of James Kelly's mates had donated £50 to the trust by changing his broadband provider through an online purchase with Fantastic Fanatics. That's quite a return. Well worth checking out to see if they can do something similar for me and you. Our first guest tonight was Woolwich born, but was brought up on the terraces of the Den before he joined our youth set-up in 1976. He was a member of our FA Youth Cup final team of 78-79 that defeated Manchester City, and he scored one of our 2 goals against them. From the youth team, he progressed into the first team where he played 36 games and scored a single goal. In 81, he moved to Colchester United for £15,000. He stayed at Colchester until 1984, where he made his highest number of Football League appearances. From there, he became a bit of a journeyman, but whilst playing for non-league Dulwich Hamlet, he re-signed for us as a non-contract player in 1986-87 and played a further 11 games for us alongside his brother Nicky. My pa, not to be confused with my dad, in Finland followed. In a short return to Colchester and then on to non-league Wivenhoe Town, where he made 211 appearances before giving up kicking the lever in 1995. He's a teacher in Colchester and a Liberal Democrat councillor on Colchester Borough Council. Known for that goal in the FA Youth Cup final, for his tough tackling and the fact that he is a COVID-19 survivor, let's say a big welcome to the chauffeur, Phil Coleman.
All right,
thanks very much, Eamonn.
Hey.
Hi, Phil. How you doing?
Phil?
Yeah, good, thanks.
They're all happy to see you. And it's the same team that you shared with back in October. So it's delightful to have them all together here to speak with you. It was a bit difficult. I had to twist a couple of arms, but anyhow, they turned up in the end. It was all right.
Earlier today, I listened to that broadcast. That's one we did in October. And Phil, you had me excited all over again with some of the descriptions you gave of what went on. So I hope you're as good as that tonight.
Yeah, that's undoubtable, isn't it? That goes without asking. Anyhow, before I let that lot talk to you, it's great to have you back. We had lots of questions unanswered from last time. But first of all, just tell us about your health. How are you with that?
Thanks, Eamonn, and great to be back on. And I'll come on every week if you ask me. That's no doubt about it.
We know that.
I'm okay, thanks, Eamonn. I've probably, as you know, COVID hit me over Christmas out of the blue. I never thought I was one that I'd ever get it with, the fitness and how sort of conduct my life and everything else. But it struck me low. But I reckon 6 weeks after Christmas Day, when I got the message that I had it, I reckon 6 weeks, I'm back to normal. I'm back teaching full-time PE. We've gone back on the 8th of March. I'm up and down the football pitches and I'm coaching the rugby again and so on and so forth. So, I was a bit out of breath, got tired easily. Chest was still a bit tight, but I reckon 6 weeks after Christmas Day, I'm absolutely fine. I'm touching wood and I'm thankful that I came through it and unfortunate others not so. But I'm fine. Thanks, Eamonn.
That's super. Great to hear. One of the big questions that fans have asked about is the time surrounding Peter Anderson being in charge. Now you'll have to give something because we had completely different views expressed by Dave Memmott and John Sitton on the show. But what was your experience, Phil?
Absolutely negative. Nothing good to say about the bloke whatsoever. Obviously, I came through from the age of 15, and George Petty was putting together this young crop of players. with a view to playing them. Bob Pearson was involved, and we've gone over that ground at large in the past.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, Jeff might know because he was probably on the board at the time. I'm pretty certain the club was struggling for money. But the way Peter Anderson dealt with me was shocking. I had a great game. You know when you've had a good game. We beat Colchester United 3-1 on the Saturday. And we had no game the following week because of the FA Cup. We were out of the Cup. And he called me into the office on the Tuesday and said, you've just played against Colchester and they've come in for you. And I've accepted a bid of 15,000. Go and speak to them. Well, when you're 20 and a half years old, I have no idea what that means. I've only ever been on the terraces and in the change rooms and on the pitch. I have no idea. Go and talk to another manager. And I've never talked to Gordon Jago and George Petty. So, like a mug, I drove up the A12, got the A to Z out. I didn't even know where Colchester was. And went and spoke to them. To be fair to Colchester, they offered me some good money. It was more than I was on at Millwall. But I went back, had a drive back down the A12, and I turned it down. So Peter Anderson's exact words were, well, I've got 5 centre-backs. You've just signed a 4-year contract with George Petty. You'll be in the reserves for the rest of the 4 years.
Lovely.
So when you hear that, you think, well, I've just played some good games here. Kitchen Mel Blythe ain't got long. That leaves me, Tony Tagg and Paul Roberts. Well, I'll stick around. So he ignored me for the next couple of days of training. Didn't have a game on the Saturday. Anyway, he came back, spoke to me. Have you thought any more about it? I said, no, not really. So he ignored me again. I was training with the reserves. So I took it upon myself to phone Colchester United up and said, go over that again with me. And so they did. And they upped the wages by about another £25 a week. And I went up and signed for them. I signed on the Thursday. Driving home on the A12, a bus pulled out on me. I wrote my car off. Oh. That wasn't very good. And the next day I went into Millwall and I said, I've done a wrong one. Cancel it. I don't want to sign. And he just went, it's too late. You're gone. The club needs the £15,000 to pay the wages for about a month. So that was me. I was out the door. I travelled up to Colchester on the train the next day, got on the coach, went to Chester, made my debut for Colchester playing against Ian Rush at Chester. Roomed with FA Cup goal scoring hero Roger Osborne from Ipswich. And that was me out the door. But his exact words were, and I swear to God I haven't got a lie about the bloke, I've got 5 centre halves. If you don't take it, you'll be in the reserves for 4 years.
Dear.
When you get those words as a 20-year-old, that's not what you want to hear.
It's pretty painful. Pretty painful.
And then when you're ignored, we had a whole week of training, there was no game. And when you're ignored, even at 20 and a half, I knew the writing was on the wall. He was just making sure I was put to bed, really. No. So I've got nothing nice about the bloke. He wasn't a very good coach in the time he was there. He demanded all the wrong things. I didn't like him as a person, and I can't say he's anywhere in my good books. So that's Peter Anderson from me.
That's it. You and John Sitton together. Right, there you go. Right. So, Jeff, can you illuminate on the 15,000? Did we need it?
I was not very happy with the appointment of Peter Anderson. I wasn't on the board at the time. My dad was still alive. So I was very closely involved, particularly with the youth development. That was my little area. But no, I wasn't happy with the appointment of Peter Anderson. And the only mistake you made, Phil, was that if you'd hung around a couple more months, he'd have been gone before you, wouldn't he? And but that's
hindsight, Jeff.
Yeah, it's not a calculation players can make, particularly when they're 20 years of age. But the story you said, that isn't inconsistent with what I know. And I do remember the day that he lost his job. And all I can say is it was thoroughly deserved. Let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not a good time in my life and career, but you deal with you get on with the hand you dealt with, and I moved on. But I can't say it was a good time because I'd grown up with those lads in that youth team, and when you got 14 lads that signed apprentice, 14 lads signed pro, 14 lads playing the first team, and then some went to America for good money. Callie went to Ipswich for good money. Mine wasn't good money, but I also chuck in that about a year earlier, George Petty turned Brighton and Alan Mullery down for me, 400,000. And it was in the paper. What's this? He said, "You're going nowhere, son. Here's a 4-year contract." And then all of a sudden, change of manager, and my whole life's gone really. No, it wasn't gone, but it changed direction badly. So, I remember my dear old dad.
Yeah. Go on.
I remember my dear old dad saying, "Oh, you don't want to leave a London club, son." And I regretted it at the time, but as things have turned out, sort of like 35, 40 years later, it weren't too bad.
Going back to the team you joined in '86, this is a period I would like to ask you about. How was it that you came to rejoin the club in 1986? Just at the start of the revolution, George Graham had gone, John Dock had come in. There was a new board, including myself. What was it? How did that come about, Phil? Because I can't remember.
All right. Well, it probably starts in '84. So I've gone to Colchester, and I did okay up there for sort of like about 3 seasons. And there was a change of manager there. I got on brilliantly with Bobby Roberts, brilliantly with Alan Hunter. And then I fell out with Cyril Lee. I mean, it didn't fell out. I'd have smacked him all over the place if I had a chance. But so I left, and I was without a club. So in 1984, I phoned up Roger Cross, and I said to him, "Is it all right if I come in and do some training with you?" "Yeah, no problem." So George Graham's the manager, and I'm training with the reserves and Roger. And then Roger starts playing me in the reserves at the start of the '84 season. So this is my now second spell. So I've actually had 3 spells at the club. So Roger's playing me in reserves all round the place. And then it started to get a bit silly because George called me in the office and he said, "Exeter, fancy you." So I'd signed to play in the combination for Mills reserves, and I signed to play for Exeter in the Football League. So I did both for about 4 months. Right? So it got stupid because I played for Exeter at home to Southend, and I drove home and got the last train back to Paddington and drove home to Colchester. And then Crossy phoned me at 9 o'clock in the morning and said, "Do you want to play for Mills reserves at Oxford that afternoon?" So I drove all the way to Oxford and played the second game. It got worse than that game, and the guys, I played 2 games in one day. It was Chelsea versus, this is true, I'm not making this up, Chelsea versus Millwall at Stamford Bridge, 11 o'clock kickoff on a Tuesday. And I'm looking after a few of the lads. There was a very young Neil Ruddock and a few of the other young lads. I think Horney might have been in goal. And I've played the game at Stamford Bridge, and I've gone over to Paddington in my car, jumped on the Intercity 125, and I've gone down to Newport County, and I've actually played for Exeter that night at 7:30 in a cup game. So I played 2 games. I never made the end of that cup game at Newport because I got sent off. So I was lucky. I really did want to be sent off. I was knackered. Okay. And then I just jumped on the train at about 9:30, got back to Paddington and drove back to Colchester. So that was my second spell, shall we say, at Millwall. And that lasted until about February, I suppose, of the 84-85 season. And George called me into the office, George Graham, and he said, "Good mate of mine wants you." I said, "Oh, who's that?" He said, "Chopper Harris, Ron Harris. He's at Aldershot. He's just taken over. He's bought the club out with a couple of his mates. Go down and talk to him." So I had a chat with, went down and had a chat with Chopper Harris, the best bloke, the most honest bloke, sorted me out, a lovely 2-year deal. Went down there and really enjoyed it. For 3 months, I picked Teddy up. Teddy Sheringham went on loan to Aldershot. So
that's cool.
I used to drive from Colchester, drove all the way round to Walthamstow, picked Ted up. We stopped off at a cafe about 9 o'clock in Chiswick, and we had a light fry up. Drove all the way down to Aldershot, trained for an hour, and it was an hour. It was a full-on 8-a-side, because that's what we had, 16 players. Ron Harris was kicking the crap out of everybody. We were kicking him back. He joined in, and me and Teddy were back in the cafe at 1 o'clock, having another bit of lunch in this greasy spoon on Chiswick. I dropped him off at his house, and I drove back to Colchester, and I did that for 3 months. And then once Ted had gone back to Millwall, I used to get the training, and I'd meet up with some right good lads. Tommy Langley, Andy Massey was there at the time, so I knew Mass. Gary Johnson, the old Chelsea striker. And there was about 15 of us met up at Waterloo, just got the train down, had a right laugh. Mark McNeil and some of these lads were top players. And we were doing really well. But at the end of that season, the club was bought back again by the previous owners. They got shot of Ron Harris, and in came another manager. And at the end of that season, I was out the door because he'd said anybody, Len Walker was the guy that took back over. He said anybody that Ron Harris signed, you're out the door. Well, I picked up the number 2 player of the year, and I was still out the bloody door. So at the end of that 84-5 season, 85-6 season, I'm back to square one. I haven't got a club. So I get a phone call from Dulwich Hamlet at the start of pre-season, and he says, what's the old Chelsea lad's name? The manager there, and he said, come in and play a few games. So done a couple of training sessions, played, might have been half a dozen games for Dulwich, and I linked up with my old mate Chrissy Dibble. Well, Dibs is a good mate of mine. He's as mad as a box of frogs, but I love Dibsy. And at the same time, I pulled the phone out again and went, hello, is that Roger Cross? Is it right if I come in and do some training? So you know where this is going, don't you?
Yeah.
So I'm playing for Dulwich on a Saturday and training with Millwall through the week. And this lasted about probably 6 weeks. And then the doc called me in the office. He said, I like what you're doing in the reserves. I'm looking to build a squad. He said, here's a 2-year contract. So I actually signed a 2-year professional contract for the 86 to 88 season. So little did I know that I was just one part of a 24-man squad that he eventually put together that the rest is history, shall we say. But Roger Cross I had quite a bit to, because obviously he had me back for my second spell in 84. He had me back for my third spell in 86, and both led to half-decent deals with Chopper Harris at Aldershot and obviously the Doc in the 86 season.
Now, there's a Derby County story in amongst all of that.
Yeah, absolutely right. So, at the start of the 85-86 season, I've done the 6 weeks pre-season training. We've done all the running. We've been in the army place over at the garrison there at Aldershot, and I'm fit as a fiddle. And the last pre-season friendly is on the Tuesday night. We kick off the season on the Saturday. We're playing Watford. Just finished second to Liverpool in the top division. And big crowd. And about 15 minutes from the end, I go to tackle their winger, one Nigel Callaghan. I think he played for England. And I've mugged him. He's knocked the ball past me. I got there first, knocked it back to the keeper. And he just swiped my standing leg as I was passing it. So I'm limping around and there's something in my leg clicking and squelching. Click, squelch, click, squelch. I've run around for 5 minutes, hobbled off. I'm laying in the physio's room and he opens the door. Sorry about that, mate. And my exact words were, you effing well will be, I'll get you one day, because I'm in agony.
Yeah.
So the physio strapped my leg up and I've sort of like limped out the club, and my dad's outside the main entrance at Aldershot. And, what you done, son? Well, I don't know, it's bloody hurting. Anyway, as we've taken 5 steps away, this Rolls Royce has turned up. And he's turned round, me dad, and as the doors opened, Elton John's come out. My old man has gone for him. You effing, is this how you treat your players? He's done my son, he's jumped in the car, Elton John, and shot off in this Rolls Royce with a soaker-driven Rolls Royce. I've hobbled down to Aldershot Station, down the hill, up the other side, got the train home. All the lads are taking the piss because I'm in agony, I'm in tears. Anyway, I couldn't drive home. I slept at my mum and dad's in Lee. And next morning, I've gone down to Greenwich Hospital. I fractured my leg, snapped it off. So, cut a long story short, Elton John, 2 weeks later, a big bouquet of flowers and fruit to me mum, wishing you a speedy recovery. Elton John, directors and players at Watford Football Club. Fast forward to 1986-87, Dulwich signed a 2-year contract with the Dog. I'm now in the first team, and this game is Millwall versus Derby County. At 2 o'clock, the Doc and Frank McLean, I don't know whether Frank was there, but the Doc certainly pulled me in and said, there's something going on in the change rooms and it all centres around you, and I don't know what it is. I said, well, I ain't telling you. He said, well, whatever you're doing, just be careful. I'm number 2 on the team sheet, right back. My brother's number 3 on the team sheet, left back. And their left winger is one Nigel Callaghan. He's gone from Watford to Derby, and I've gone from Aldershot to Millwall. The boys can't wait in the change rooms. Everyone couldn't wait for the first tackle because they knew what I was going to do. I walked up to him just before the referee blew the first whistle and I went, remember me? And he went, who the effing hell are you? I went, you broke my leg about a season and a half ago. I'll tell you what, he went whiter than white. They've knocked the ball back, launched it down my throat, and as it's going to him, I've thrown this almighty right-hander, and I've missed him. And I've heard the halfway line just take this deep inhale of breath, because it was an almighty muck spreader as I was running backwards. I've missed him. I've put one down his thigh, I've put one down his leg, I've gone into his knee, I've nutted him, I've stamped on him from a corner. Anyway, after about 60 minutes of this, he's gone to the manager. I'll go and play on the other wing. And I went, yeah, go on, cough. My brother's at left back and he's worse than me. Nick nailed him with a couple of challenges and he hobbled off after 70 minutes. But it was still bittersweet because he bloody scored the winner. We lost 1-0 and he got the bloody winner. So, yeah, Nigel Callaghan done me right good and proper in that pre-season friendly 5 days before the season kicked off. I was in plaster for 4 months. I never played for 5 months. But Elton John, Nigel Callaghan, my brother, yeah, that was the 86-87 season. So
a good
I quite enjoyed that season. It was some memorable games for me. I never played in the second season when they got promoted. I had a wire put in my toe. My right toe had just disintegrated, and they put a wire in it. So I was out for about 5 months, and I couldn't get into that team anyway. The lads were absolutely bloody brilliant, but. In the 86-87 season in the Championship or Division 2, I mean, my second debut was against West Brom. That was memorable because that's the first time I played a professional game with my brother. My mum and dad were there, God bless my dad. And to play with your brother, I'm 2, he's 3. I played centre-back, I got closer to him a few times. But yeah, I know my mum and dad were mega proud watching us play in the same team. My dad used to stand on the halfway line. He didn't want a free ticket. He paid and stood on the halfway line. Bless him. Yeah. Brighton was a memorable game. You might remember it. It was New Year's Day, 12 o'clock kick-off. We were allowed one phone call home at midnight, and then we had to go to bed. And the next day, I think Mickey Mark scored after 20 minutes, and we've just defended the whole of the second half. And I remember the family was in the stand, and they said at the end of the game, the half that Brighton were defending was green, and the half that you were defending was brown. Oh, yeah. And I've got stitches. I've been cut by Terry Connery, batted me. They had some tasty players, but we won 1-0, and that was a rear guard, that game. That was memorable. Cardiff, you probably remember this. We played them 3 times in the FA Cup. Yeah. And I was sub every game, and I froze my backside off because it was like -5 and snow and frost. And we didn't have any, like, heated quilts or anything. You just sat there in a pair of shorts, shivering, praying that you could get on the pitch. But Cardiff at home, I think we drew, and then we had to play them twice away because you just flipped the coin, and we lost it a few times. Bradford away that season, that 4 foot of snow piled up around the pitch. I'm sub again, freezing my backside off. Crystal Palace was another game, memorable for a 20-man brawl at the Alderton Road end. They beat us 1-0. I think Mark Bright got the goal. I mean, we had this mentality that if it all kicked off, we all piled in, and you just ran from wherever you were to just do the Palace players. It was just, had to get in there. It was the expected thing. And many people remember the Palace brawl. Mark Wright and Ian Bright up front. I remember that game as well, Jeff, lads, because after, I think they scored after 5 or 6 minutes. And I'm thinking, hang on, and my own fans were abusing me here. Hang on, I went to take a throw on, and they're throwing coins at me. Hang on, I'm one of you. And the big metal fencing's up, and there's bits of the terracing coming on. Hang on, I've only got about another 80 minutes to get the goal back. So the good old demanding Den fans, even when you're losing with 80 minutes to go, they're on your back. But more off a duck's back to me. But some memorable games even in that season. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Brilliant.
Phil, mate, Henry here. It's interesting listening to you talk about those times in football before sort of like the modern game became, some people would say, the monster that it is. Like last time you were on, you described the work that you undertook when you were on the youth training scheme, like cleaning boots, doing the terraces, cleaning showers. My question for you really is, do you think that's been lost in modern football and it's led to a rise in, a sense of entitlement for younger players? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I personally think the game's been sanitised, and I'm watching to a degree rugby's going down the same line. There's a fine line between safety and that, but football's been sanitised. I actually gave up football. I was about 36. I played all these games in the non-league, in the Isthmian Premier as it was then. And they were starting to mess around with it then. They had kick-ons for one season instead of throw-ons.
Oh, blimey.
There was no offside. It was just a pile-up under the keeper's crossbar. So I went and played rugby because you were allowed to tackle in rugby, unlike that season when there was the tackle from behind was outlawed. So in some ways, I think the game's been sanitised. I think there's an element of money, a huge pot of money that people are playing for. The riches are so great. Stories of 18-year-olds signing 10 grand a week in some of these clubs. I think there's a fear of losing. There's a fear of relegation. I'd counter all that by saying, we're in an entertainment business. We're meant to be entertaining these people that are paying money. And I played for the badge and the fans. And wherever I played, I listened to Kevin Bremner on a podcast the other week. You put your heart and soul into it for whatever shirt you're playing for. And we'd have played for nothing, to be honest. I'd have played for Millwall for nothing. I genuinely mean that. If they'd have said to me, here's a 4-year contract, you're playing every week and there's no money, I'd have played. I just think the game has been sanitised. There's some of the young players, oh my God, I think they're wrapped in cotton wool. They're not exposed to competitive men's football early enough. What's this under 23s? You're not good enough at 18, 19, 20. You're just going to carry on another 3 years. So I can only take you back to the midweek league. I'm 16 years old and I'm bunking off my school and I'm going to play at places like Brighton, and these strikers, Teddy Maybank at Chelsea, they'd knock you all over the place at 16 years old. And you grew up very quickly, and then you turn up on Monday morning and you might have had a great game on a Saturday or something. Then Jack Blackman, who I love to bits, Jack would get a whole chapter in my book one day. What a top bloke. But he'd knock you about. You ain't cleaned the toilets, you ain't done the baths, sort the kit out, son. And Jack was one of these people where he demanded a certain standard, and us kids, 16 to 18 apprentices, my toilets were the cleanest because I didn't want to argue with Jack. What a tough man, but what a lovely man at the same time. I owe him quite a bit. You know, we were on the pitch in oilskins, you know, the old trawlerman clothing, and we were on the pitch putting all the divots back in a pouring rain. And one month I had to go and clean the police box out up in the corner of the pitch because all the sandwiches and the police, you know, were up there. And I had to go climb up the ladder, no health and safety, clean the police box out, weed the terraces, take all the weed off the whole of the terraces at the old den. That was us apprentices. Plus we were cleaning the kit, scrubbing the boots. Tony Hazel, if you remember Tony Hazel, about 76, if he couldn't see his face in his boots, he reported you to Gordon Jago. You got done, you got fined because he wanted his face in his boots. So there was this standard and this toughening up, and you took responsibility whether you were cleaning the baths or you were cleaning the boots. You had a responsibility to those pros. We all looked after 5 or 6 pros. And I think that's a heck of a training ground. It's demanding, it's tougher. You had responsibility. So I think they got it pretty easy these days. Pretty easy. I can remember one story, I've got to chuck this one in. 86 season, I've gone back, and my first game in a Millwall shirt, 86, was a reserve game at Southampton. And I'm now sort of 26, 27, and I'm thinking, Crossy said to me, bring these young kids through. So Steve Anthrobus, Alan Dowson, and Dave Thompson. So I'm playing next to Dave Thompson, and I've looked at this piece of paper before the game, and up front for Southampton is one Joe Jordan. So I said to Tomo, listen, I'll take that little tiny quick player. You mark Joe Jordan, right? Make sure you nut him, give him plenty, right? Tomo didn't know who Joe Jordan was. First goalkeeper's kick out. Tomo's got, Joe has splattered his nose across his face. Well played, Tomo. Keep going. Yeah, you'll get the better of him soon, son. I had to apologise to him about 3 years ago for that, 1986, because I stitched him up like a kipper. Sorry, Tomo, if you're listening. Yeah, these young kids had to come through and learn the hard way, but I'm not sure that's the case now. You've had a good look at the training grounds. I mean, these young kids are playing on bowling greens. I mean, God, no, we trained at Senegal Fields. We trained at Deptford Park. We actually trained on a dog track, believe it or not. We ran up the hills in Greenwich Park. You know, I defy anybody to run 20 times up there in 20 seconds with no rest. You're throwing up and your legs are shaking, and we didn't have a training ground. It was, when I started, it was Peak Freens. Then we went to Langley Park. In 86, we went to Dartford College. Some of the pitches were dreadful, but they look at these training grounds now. They've got massage, they've got hot baths, hot tubs in the changing rooms. I just think there's an element of sports science has kicked in. I get that. It has made things better in terms of diet and training methods, but there's a harsh reality of you've got to play competitive men's football. And if you're not up to it 18, 19, 20, I don't know, I'm a bit biased because I think my way was better. My time was better. What we did was better. Had more fun as well. So,
I reckon you're right. I reckon you're right there. Stan, you got a question for Phil?
We've got the modern or the so-called modern game. Now, in your opinion, if is there one thing out of everything that you because you're clearly not happy with what you see, but is there one thing in particular that really sticks in your claw about the modern game that if you could get rid of it, you would?
I'd get rid of the money. I think money is the root cause of most of the evils in the modern game. If you've got money, you're at the top of the league, and that goes for tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right through non-league. If you've got the money, you win the league. If you go into the National League, the teams at the top, I think most of them have got a backer, they've got some money. So would get rid of money, make it a level playing field on money, then we might be able to find out who the coaches and who the managers really are, who the managers are, who the good coaches are. No good going spending £80 million on a centre-back when nobody else can afford it. So, money to me is the root cause. I also don't like the way the game's gone. Everyone's scared of getting beat. Everyone seems to be playing one striker. There's a fear of losing. Why can't we play 2 strikers? Why can't we play 3 strikers? Everybody seems to be sort of like everybody back behind the ball because we can't get beat. I think as well there's a word, honesty. I want to see honest players. People talk about, he's a typical Millwall player. I think what they're talking about is honest. They go out there, they give their heart and soul, they run around. What I'm seeing, and in my game now I'm teaching PE, I use football's played north, south, east and west. We don't go direct to a striker. We go east, west, passing is east, and it bores the pants off me. There's an old saying, a forward pass is your first pass, and if it comes off, it's a great pass. I just keep seeing 2,000 passes a game, and we haven't had a shot on goal. So it's boring people to stupid. So honesty, money, fear of losing, and the game has evolved into one where they're keeping possession for the sake of it. When I like the look of Leicester sometimes, they just hit Jamie Vardy because he's got place over the top and he scores. That's a great pass. I think the game has changed with I don't know, perhaps the Brazilians were ahead of their time in the 70s or whatever, and the Dutch in the 80s, but there's an element of me where the game is boring. People are cheating in the game, people are diving. Players are going to have to change because every nudge in the penalty area now could be a penalty. People are going to have to change their game because of VAR, the offside rule. Strikers may well have to drop a little bit deeper because they're going to get caught out by an armpit. So that's probably going to deny more chances to score. Who knows? In the fullness of time, perhaps VAR might make it better. But the referees are being exposed. Their interpretation of VAR leaves me gobsmacked, and probably you guys as well sometimes. You've got players now defending with their arms behind their back because they're frightened of the ball hitting them. Well, when has that ever been a part of coaching? You're going to jockey the winger with your arms behind your back because he might give a penalty. So I don't like VAR. Money, I think, is the root cause of a lot of the evils. Fear of getting beat. Why don't you just go and... England pick 5 defenders and they're playing the worst team in international world football.
Yeah.
Why are we playing wing-backs? Why aren't we playing out-and-out wingers that just destroy full-backs and get crosses in? So this fear of getting beat, even against whoever we're playing, I don't even know. I just switched it off, to be honest. I'd sooner watch MasterChef, to be honest with you. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
I mean, it's funny, Phil, you mentioned about not taking shots at goal. Tell you something, right, and because I found it interesting. Now, you said that the last time that you were great mates with Gary Micklewhite, and I said to you like he was my nephew and that, and
yep.
When I watched him once at QPR, but prior to that, I'd watched a documentary about Bobby Charlton, and because Bobby Charlton was renowned, wasn't he, for taking shots at goal, and when he was explaining to the guy that who was doing the interview, and he said, "Oh yeah," he said, "Jimmy Murphy, when they used to play these works teams," he said, they was always encouraged to have shots at goal, because the logic was, if you had 10 shots at goal, the law of averages was that one would go in. See, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Well, the next night, I saw Gary play, and because at that time in his team, you had Clive Allen and Tony Curry, and they were the only two that shot. And when I see him afterwards, I asked him about, well, why is it your blokes, other than them, don't have a shot? Now, he was managed then by Terry Venables, who was one of these up-and-coming coaches who, at that time, was being spoken for the England job, right, which we know he got later on. Yeah. And he turned around and said, Michelle, I'll tell you what, Stan, he said, if we have a shot at goal, he said, or I have a shot at goal, he said, if it goes in, or whoever it is that it goes in, other than the two I mentioned, he said, no problem. He said, but he said, if you have a shot at goal and it don't go in, he said, straight away, he said, you get in the dressing room, and you're getting a lot of earache from Venables, wanting to know why it was you didn't play 1-2s rather than have a shot. Yeah. And I found that astounding when he told me.
Yeah, I think it's the same with outfield play. I mean, you can play a 60-yard forward pass, and if it goes astray, you're under pressure straight away. So they're looking at you, the manager's on your back. So what do? You play safe. You play east to west. You go left back, you come back to the centre back, you go to the goalkeeper. You keep in possession. I get they're probably looking for an opportunity to sort of like draw people in, but defences are just sitting back and packing it. I just think there's I watched Wolves the other night, and they got 4 people in the box, and the guys on the wing got an opportunity to cross it, and he never took it. So the 4 in the box had to come back out again, and they started all over again. 4v4 in the box. Stick the cross in. Have a go. You might score from a header. There might be you got 4 players in the box. They go back out again, and then when he gets into the same position, there's nobody in the box. So I don't know. There's a fear of giving the ball away. Is it fear of taking that shot? Is it fear of losing? I'm not sure. These guys are highly trained athletes. They've got the latest technology tracking them. They've got stats coming out their backside. How many passes, what sort of possession. They're getting all their data and all their stats on a Monday morning. And perhaps that's ruling their decision making on the pitch, because ultimately it boils down to decision making. If I get the ball and I see Jamie Vardy and I stick a 70-yarder over the top and he scores because he's quick and he's clean through, it's a great pass. If I give it away, the manager's on me back. I've given the ball away. And then the fans are on me back because I'm playing Route 1. Well, Route 1 that scores a goal is a fantastic pass. So the decision making on the pitch sometimes beggars belief with me.
Well, I was only going to ask you about the use of VAR, Phil, but you've already said what your view of VAR is. So, I think it came in with the greatest of I think it came in with the greatest of intentions, but I think what it's done is exposed the referees and their interpretation. Well, their interpretation without VAR was a mistake sometimes, or they got it right, they got it wrong. I think they're doing exactly the same. Yet they've got 32 cameras covering it, and lines going across the pitch and their interpretation. But what gets me with them, the referees at the moment, they're not accountable to anybody. They've got the game management, professional management team, and they seem to sort of like all hunker down on a Monday. And if you made an absolute howler and you've probably cost the club millions in advertising sponsorship because you might be relegated, it's probably worth £100 million or so, they say. That referee, there's nothing up. He's not suspended for a couple of games like the player might be if he did something wrong. So there's a lot could be done, but it's only my opinion. Other people think VAR is brilliant, and other people might enjoy the passing game. But
at that point, Phil, I'm going to stop you because, as usual, we've run well over time, and it's time to say. Lastly, before we go, and with no game this weekend, how about a prediction on our potential points tally for the season? We've got 52 points. Hey? Right. You've done some homework on it?
Yeah.
All right.
We've got 52 points.
Yeah.
Eight games left. That's 24 points.
Yeah.
We've got Rotherham, Stoke, Swansea, Brentford, Bournemouth, Watford, Bristol, and Coventry.
Blimey.
I'm going to say we'll beat the top 4 teams: Swansea, Brentford, Bournemouth, and Watford, because the injuries will clear up overnight. The pitch will be brilliant. We'll have a great positive attitude. We'll come out fighting, and we'll stuff the better teams and lose to all the worst teams. How's that?
That sounds reasonable to me. So that puts us somewhere around about 66 points or something like that.
Yeah, the season's gone so far. 52 points, 24 to play for. Can we get 12, 15 of them, half of them even? You know, that would be a good tally given the injuries.
I've backed 15, but we'll see. Yeah. And the next time, we'll talk about that again. Anyhow, Phil, thanks for coming on the show. All our best wishes to you and your family. We look forward to having you back soon after the next season begins.
Brilliant. Cheers, Eamonn, Stan, Jeff and Henry. Loved it.
Yeah.
Cheers, Phil. Take care, Phil. See you, mate.
Thanks, guys.
Bye,
See you
Phil.
soon.
Bye. We're going to take a break there. We're going to listen to Kai Bennett. We've got two of his big collaborators in the studio this evening, Henry Morgan and Stan Godwin. He talks about them with great fondness. But here's Kai talking about his Millwall Fan TV.
Hello, I'm Kai. I run Millwall Fan TV. I have done for about a year and a half now. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. If you just search in Millwall Fan TV, I should come up. You can also find me on YouTube at Millwall Fan TV. I do pre-match predictions, post-match analysis and full-time reaction. I also try to do as many interviews on ex-Millwall players. I've done about 10 so far and I've absolutely loved every minute of it. Thank you so much for all your support. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, it's Millwall Fan TV. All your support is always massively appreciated. Thank you.
I'm Eamonn Barclay and I'm back with a No One Likes Us talking team of Jeff Burnige, Stan Godwin and Henry Morgan. Our second guest tonight is 34 years young. He's lived in Burnige, grown up there and worked in London for all of that time. He's been a Millwall fan for his whole life, well, at least from when he can remember. He's been promoting men's mental health and in particular the stigma associated with it. He appeared on our show a while back and has kept his initiative going in lockdown by working with individuals on a one-to-one basis throughout. Well, until a couple of weeks ago anyway, when he decided it was time to promote the issues surrounding men's mental health and the benefit of walk and talk groups by completing a 5-day daily walking marathon around London on a Monday to Friday. You'll be pleased to know that he's back at what he does best now with the regular and new participants. We're also delighted to see that he's been recognised by Millwall Football Club as their above and beyond fan for the month of March. Congratulations, Scott. And there's more to come. So let's welcome someone whose efforts are so commendable, Scott Johnson.
Hello guys, how you doing?
All right.
Thank you for having me back.
Well, we're delighted. Yeah, even Henry managed to say hello to you, so that was really good. No, we're really delighted. It's great to have you back on the show. But tell the listeners, what was it that brought you to undertake the 5 days of marathon walks, and what was it like?
Well, I needed to do something to sort of promote the cause that I was doing, because I felt like, obviously, I was doing a lot of the rounds on social media, and I felt like a lot of the posts were coming in a little bit repetitive and people might be sort of ignoring some of them, thinking, oh, here he goes again, talking about what he's talking about. But I needed to try and do something that was going to catch people's imaginations and also something that was going to push me physically, because at the moment, obviously, where a lot of people are out of work and stuff like that, I needed to try and fill up my day as much as I could. So I thought, yeah, why not? Let's go for a couple of marathons, and then I decided to do 5 instead.
No big jump there, you know.
It's not too bad.
We'll do 2, but we'll have 5 instead.
But it got some real amazing coverage, and it definitely done what it was meant to do in terms of getting a reach out there. We got some new lads on board from it, and it just wore out a couple of pairs of trainers. But other than that, it wasn't too bad.
The old legs held out afterwards.
Yeah, not too bad.
Super.
Scott, it's Stan here, mate. I see Bermondsey councillor, and I might have trouble pronouncing this name.
Yeah.
Maria Ali promotes what you do. Mm-hmm. How difficult is it to get men to recognise that they may have a mental health problem?
Great by the councillor, by the way. She's really proactive with it. She shares a lot of stuff, and we met up a few times and spoke about it. So I really appreciate her getting involved. And about getting men Yeah, it's difficult. It's a hard one because I think even when men realise they've got the issue, it's the reaching out that's the problem. Like so they identify, yeah, I've got a problem, but then they feel a bit trapped and they don't know where to go with it. And I feel them trying to open up and find that exit route to try and get better that's where the stigma lies still, I think, because a lot of probably lads have admitted in their life that they don't feel great to themselves, but they've just sort of tucked it in the back of their mind and just cracked on because they don't want to say nothing. So I think the problem's more along the lines of trying to get them to talk once they've realised they've got them issues.
Yeah. Hi, Scott. Henry here, mate. I've been following you a lot on social media recently, actually. Yeah, you've got to be absolutely knackered, mate.
Appreciate it, mate, yeah.
And I understand that the next thing you're going to do, or sort of big project you've got, is you're going to walk from Windsor to Tower Bridge.
Yeah.
All in one go. So I think that's around 50 miles. And I think a friend of the show, Barry Stradling, is working for the Homies as well, going to join you for a short section.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to achieve by doing that, mate? Through that venture with him, what are your bigger sort of goals?
It's sort of the idea of the challenge is the same as the last one. I still want to try and strike while the iron's hot, I guess, and just try and make sure that we're still raising awareness. And until my feet fall off, I'm going to be doing a lot crazier one and longer ones until that point. But this one here this one's actually in preparation for an even bigger one that's meant to be happening in April with one of the lads from the group. So I've sort of just tested it out to see how far or how long this is going to take me, to be fair. So watch for that one. But in terms of Barry and stuff, yeah, he reached out and. He's going to join me along the way because I believe he's doing some fantastic work for some homeless charity. I think it's Crisis. I think it was. So he's going to join me along the way. I've got another lad who's going to join me at the very beginning as well. He's going to do the first 10-15 miles. John Green. He does the Fisher community stuff, Fisher Athletic. The local area. So he's jumped on board. And I didn't even need to push him to get involved either. He's already getting a train ticket, so he's eager to get involved.
And when's that happening, Scott?
That's happening this Monday. So Monday the 29th. So I thought because where we could start meeting 6 people outside as well, that'd be an ideal opportunity for people to come along at any part they want. Probably mainly the end part I'm going to need the support really to hold my feet up. But but it'd be nice to see people along the way, and it's obviously reaching more people that way as well.
Will you be able to get old Barry will sing you a song?
That'd be great.
He does a lot of that. That'll be no problem at all.
Scott, it's Jeff here. Did you know that the first ever official marathon for the London Olympics was in 1904? That started at Windsor.
Oh, really?
Started at Windsor, I think in the grounds of the castle, and finished at the Polytechnic Stadium in Chiswick.
Oh, there you go. You learn something every day.
And that's how they got the 26.2 miles, because that's how far it was. But so you're revisiting history there. Look, it's great talking to you again, Scott. I can't believe what you do. It's beyond my possible understanding how you can manage to do that. It's fantastic work. When will you be able to resume your group walks, do you think? Larger group walks. And, beyond that, what's your longer term ambitions?
Yeah, so great news on the group walks actually, because obviously from the 29th of March we're allowed to meet in our groups of 6 again, which is great. But our first official walk is going to be Thursday, the 1st of April, starting at HMS Belfast. That's where we start our usual walks, our group walks. Sorry. So it's only next week. So yeah, this time next week we'll be able to start our group walks again, which is great. And I think we have that up till probably I think it's May, and then we can start doing groups of 15. I ain't too sure, but at least the groups of 6 to come back, which should be really good. And in terms of the long-term sort of ambitions of the group, I want to, because I think the blueprint of this Walk and Talk men's group now is there, and I'd love to spread it across definitely London anyway, and try and find like-minded people that would like to take it on maybe one evening a week to do a walk in their area. So that'd be something I'd like to do. But also my background of work is working with young people in schools, doing sports coaching. So I'm trying to devise a program where I can put that together, and then we can do some prevention stuff with young lads in schools to try and arm them with sort of like the toolkit they need to deal with these issues as they get older, rather than having the issues when they're older, not knowing what to do with it, and then coming to us, but knowing how to deal with it early on as well. So that's a sort of long-term plan of the group, to keep the men's stuff going, what we're doing now, but also work with some younger lads as well.
Fantastic stuff. And brilliant to hear all that, Scott. But there's just enough time to reflect on Millwall. So how have you thought our season has gone to date?
Oh, wow, good question. I don't know. One weekend we're going to go on a big run of wins, and then the next week we lose. So it is definitely an emotional roller coaster following Millwall, to be fair. But I don't know. It's a bit of an odd one. I think, as I said last time, I think we're just maybe just one or two players away, and that's always the saying, isn't it? One or two players away from becoming really good or going to the next level. But I think player for player, I look at our team, and I think we're looking a good outfit, to be fair. I think we need somebody who's going to score some goals for us and be a regular number 9. That'd be ideal. But I think we've had I think overall we can look back at this season. Obviously it's not done yet, but we can say that we've done pretty well, I think.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. Yeah. That's my view as well. Yeah. Anyhow, thanks, Scott. We wish you, your family and friends all the best, and those that come walking with you. And we hope that your continued endeavours for removing the stigma surrounding men's mental health brings relief to many. Take care, that, stay safe, Scott, and we'll keep watching what you're up to. And see you next time. It won't be that long.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys. Thank you so much.
All the best, Scott. All the best, mate.
Take care, Scott, mate. See ya.
Thank you.
Well, we'll take a break there, but for now, here's that man that was mentioned, Barry Stradlin, with me. I caught up with Barry Stradlin, literally. Hi, Barry.
Hello, Eamonn.
You're a tough act to keep up with. How's it going?
Okay, I've been doing this for 14 days now. And I've been I'm trying to do 430,000 steps, which is 200 miles. So far, I've done 124 miles.
Goodness gracious. I'm not having trouble to keep me. Hold up, watch it. No. Oh, some people don't know about doing social distancing when you're walking along.
Of course not.
God, dear, oh dear. Anyhow, what's the plan now?
Just to keep going for the next, to the end of the month, to the 31st, to get as much as I can get on board and get as much money for a crisis.
So tell us a little bit about Crisis. What does that mean?
Crisis is basically a homeless charity, and I've had a brain injury, so basically we're trying to sort of show people can have a brain injury if they're in crisis. They could be more homeless, more vulnerable. So the idea is to stop homelessness.
Well, that's a great thing to be doing. Absolutely fantastic. How can someone donate to this crisis?
If you put into your browser Barry Stradlin Step Forward, it comes up, and you can go onto there to donate. On there's an update of how many steps I've done, what I'm doing, that sort of stuff. You can donate on that. So if you can afford it, please donate to it.
Barry, I think I'll let you carry on down the road and, as they say, keep on trucking. Bye now.
Definitely, mate. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Well, I'm Eamonn Barclay. I'm back with the No One Likes Us talking team of Jeff Burnige, Stan Godwin and Henry Morgan. Barry will welcome any donation, no matter what size, and thanks those who have donated to date. Well, no match this week, but here is Ellis anyway, because I love to hear her.
Hi everyone, Ellis here. Thanks for watching my videos, and thank you for all the support. But now it's time to look ahead to your next match. Come on, Millwall!
Yeah, well, we're not going to look towards our next match tonight, Ellis, but we're going to look and explore an issue raised by the fans. And I'm going to focus just on three names that seem to be regularly coming up in the thoughts of fans. They believe that these three players will be gone. Marlon Romeo, Jake Cooper and the perennial target, Jed Wallace. What is your take on these three?
Well, to be perfectly honest and blunt about it, I think a lot of these people who keep saying Marlon Romeo's on his way, I think it's a case of, in some cases, a lot of these blokes are trying to push him out for reasons that we know why. I think that's what that's about.
I agree with you.
And I have to say this is that, again, they need these people will need to take a dose of reality, because no manager is going to push a player out of a club or get rid of a player for something like that. I mean, if it was a case of discipline, that's a different matter. But this is not discipline, and that's why I think this is the argument about with a lot of people. It's about pushing out Marlon Romeo, and it's nothing to do with his ability. In terms of Jake Cooper, I would imagine that there would be decent championship teams coming after him, ones that's in a sort of running year in, year out for promotion. Secondly, if he goes to the Premier League, the question is, at this particular moment in time, he's playing week in and week out. If he went to a Premiership side, is he going to be doing that? Okay, he's going to be on big money, but is he going to be playing? Because I think he needs to be playing, and so that's the case with him. Jed Wallace being the perennial target, well, he probably is, and he probably will be again, but we'll have to wait and see. If the club's making the right moves in the summer, showing a bit of ambition and whatever, Jed might think, okay. I don't know how long he's got left on his contract as it goes. He might be happy to see his contract out.
Okay, Stan.
I definitely agree with Stan in terms of Marlon Romeo. I think he's a very talented footballer. I think he's absolutely knackered. I think having him and Danny Mack can only be a positive for next season. And I think anyone else that's got a particular political agenda against him needs to basically put their own political feelings to one side and think about the welfare of the club. And if more people did that, maybe we wouldn't find it so difficult to sign that player who's going to score 20 goals a season. But that's my personal preference on Marlon Romeo. I think he's a fantastic player. Jake Cooper, obviously, he was linked, I think, with Rangers. It would be a shame to see him go, especially with Piercy getting a bit older. But I'd hope he could stay. Can we hang on to Jed Wallace? Yeah, maybe. I personally think that really his time to move on would have been last summer, and he seems to love playing for the club. He gives everything in every single game. He might get, as Stan said, an offer from a Premiership club, maybe one that's newly promoted. But, I don't know. He's had two very consistent seasons of getting very good numbers. And if you look at those numbers, which people do nowadays, he will definitely potentially be a target in the summer. I'd love to see him stay, obviously, and for us to continue to try and build a team around him so that we can show a bit of ambition and try and make the playoffs next year.
Super. Thanks, Henry.
I echo everything that Stan and Henry have said about Marlon. One of my real favourite players. I think that it must be hard for any player who's been a first-team regular for 4 or 5 years to find a younger player coming in that's more than a challenge to him in that position. So I think sometimes that causes a situation where a player wants to still be a regular. This summer, I don't think there'll be much money around for buying players in the Championship. Everyone's taken a big financial hit this year. That may go on until next season by the looks of it. So what drives a move is that a player is offered so much money as an increase in wages that they want to go. George Saville's one that comes to mind. What he was offered to go to Middlesbrough was widely rumoured, and you're not going to stand in somebody's way if they can get that kind of money. It more than doubled what he was on, didn't it?
Yeah.
Far more than doubled. So if someone
3 times I heard.
I heard. So if someone really fancies Jake and they can give him 3 times what he's earning at Millwall, that move will happen.
Yeah.
in my opinion. But whether we've got any players that are going to go in those circumstances, I'm not sure. I really don't know. I suspect that there'll be no major heartbreaking exits this summer. There may have to be some to raise some money for an incoming player, but no, I don't think there'll be. I don't think Jake Cooper or Jed Wallace will be leaving this summer, and I certainly hope not.
Thanks for that, guys. The only thing with Jake that I wonder about, he has got that dislocated shoulder. He does need some work doing on that, and that might put off some potential bidders. But I don't want to see Marlon go. I don't want to see any of them go. I want to see us perhaps build a squad that's able to sustain the pressure of Championship football. So, don't forget, you can hear Henry previewing the Rotherham match on next week's show, which will be broadcast on Good Friday morning, ahead of the 3 p.m. kickoff against the Millers. We will take a break there and listen to SE16's very own Harvey Brown and that former Lioness, Patricia Maslin.
Hello, Harvey Brown here. I missed my football at the Den. Did you know Millwall Community Trust are continuing to help people of all ages from different walks of life and are doing so much good in these tough times? But they need our help. Here's Patricia to tell you more.
Oh, thank you for that intro, Harvey. Millwall Community Trust appreciates your support. You are a star. Hi, Patricia Maslin here. Whether you're an organisation with bodies able to assist or an individual, the Trust needs you during the current conditions to support the vulnerable and needy. If you can help make a difference or need help, please contact Sean Daly, the Trust's Chief Executive Officer, by phone on 07958 027060. Once again, that's 07958 027060. Or contact by email sdaly, I'll spell that, SDALY, at millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk. I'll repeat that, sdaly, SDALY, at millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk. If you can, or you know someone or any organisation who might be able to help, please let the Community Trust know. Thank you.
I'm Eamonn Barclay, and I'm back with a No One Likes Us talking team of Henry Morgan, Stan Godwin and Jeff Burnige. People continue to lose their lives to this dreadful virus or as a consequence of suffering with it. Deaths and infections continue, and high numbers of sufferers continue too. Our thoughts go out to the victims, their families, friends, and those that take care of them.
There are so many fans who want to support the club, and you can help by joining the Lions Loyalty Club. It costs £40 with benefits. For £25, you or a member of your family can also be a crowdie, and you can also obtain a virtual mascot package for £104. Also, watch out for our virtual match sponsorship packages, which you can purchase from the Millwall Commercial Department. All the details and more can be found on the Millwall website. Lastly, don't forget, iFollow returns to our screens with Carl Bates and Matt McClellan on Friday at 3 p.m. against Rotherham. 100% of what you pay, less taxes, for the internet streaming service, home or away, goes back to Millwall Football Club. What a wonderful way to improve their revenue during these challenging times and to give John Berylson and his bank account a bit of a break. It's good night from me.
Next Friday, James Kelly returns once again to host Patricia Maslin, Ted Robinson and Dave Hart. In the meantime, Scott Johnson, who you heard from earlier, is still looking for guys to come along and join him to break the stigma of men's mental health with walk and talk groups. Being in lockdown means walks will continue, but on a one-to-one basis. Change will be happening soon though. Check out the Proper Blokes Club on Twitter and Facebook for further details. And don't forget to get behind Sean Ash, Millwall fan and London Ambulance Service call handler, on his walking challenge for the LAS NHS Trust. Simply insert Sean Ash, Just Giving into your browser, and a link will take you to the page to make a further donation. Good night.
Good night, Stan. Good night, Henry. Don't forget, neither the Millwall Lionesses nor the Romans are playing football under the current restrictions, soon to be ended, hopefully. Nonetheless, sponsorship opportunities for the Lionesses are still available. Why not share the burden between a few of you or even a couple of companies? If you can give them some added support, it will be most helpful. You can find details on their website. Just put Millwall Lionesses into your browser and you will find them easily enough. We sponsored their captain, Libby Stubbs, this season, who made this tweet in response to the government's roadmap out of lockdown. When football comes back, I'm going to be grateful for every second I am on the pitch, she said. So will we, Libby. Good night, Eamonn. Good night, Henry. Good night, Stan. Good night, everyone.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Lastly, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there, follow the lockdown guidance, social distancing when outside, and a face mask where necessary. Things will be changing in soon. Anyway, that's it from me. Thanks, Henry, Stan and Jeff. Until the next time, I'm going to say good night.